This week, Brave Newbies achieve a major milestone in their contribution to PvP. Two major coalitions reset their standings. Fraternity AWOXed 2 Titans, while Rekking Crew board 1 Titan and destroy another. Boss maintain their presence in Vinol through Divide and Conquer. Fredrick Vonhole destroys another AT ship, while Drifter Rats take care of another. Curse sees a cap brawl over a Triumvirate Astrahus, and an alliance is removed from Featherboles as the Imperium establish a beachhead. Hello pod people, I'm Frost, and this is your weekly EVE Online update. Welcome back. Well, it's quite the varied news this week, but before we jump into the news itself, as always, let's announce the winners of the Scope Syndication skins from last week's prize draw. And my winners are Spectral Spectre, and my other winner hasn't come forward yet, so that is Evil John. That is your YouTube name. Please get in touch with me through my Discord, link is in the description, and I can sort out your skin for you. And I have 2 more of these obelisk skins to give away a little bit later on in the show. All right, so let's get started. As always, I jump up into my box. I have Dotlan in front of me. Thank you, Walari, for Dotlan. And I'm going to make sure I have my pen ready. Here we go. All right, so what are we going to start with? We're going to start with Pure Blind. And we're actually going to be talking about an alliance that has been around, well, a corporation that has been around for about 9 years and then became an alliance known as Brave Collective. But the corporation itself is called Brave Newbies. And as you can see, they have these systems here. They actually took the last couple of systems from toilet paper, I think in the last week. So they've got all those systems there and this one here. But really, we're not talking about their SOV at the moment. What I want to talk about is something completely different. So as you can see here, so as I said, Brave Newbies was incorporated about 9 years ago. And they've had a very, very tumultuous time in EVE. But the big landmark, which I'm going to point out here, is that they just recently passed 1 million kill melds or lost melds in the game. So that is quite the achievement. And what this demonstrates really is the contribution that Brave Newbies has made to player-driven conflict in the game. If you think of that, that's 1 million times that players have been involved in PvP. So thank you very much, Brave, for your contribution. That is quite something. The other thing as well that I found out from Dunk Dinkle's State of the Alliance was that it was an Atron that was destroyed. The millionth ship to die was an Atron, which is very fitting, being a T1 frigate, which is kind of the very roots of what Brave Newbies started out with, as T1 frigates heading into nullsec and that kind of stuff. So once again, congratulations to Brave Newbies, and I'm sure all of you feel the same, that they are definitely a very, very important element of the game, and it's good to see them putting so many ships out there and undocking so many times to provide great content for everybody. So there you go. All right, so there you go. This is a different one to start off with. I never thought I'd be announcing the 1 millionth kill meld. But obviously, you know, one of the main things as well to say with Brave with that is what's your fun per hour is kind of their motto, and they're very much living up to it and staying classy about it as well. All right, so coming back to our map quickly, the other thing as well, I need to comment on a battle report I talked about last week, which took place over these 2 systems, and it involved Snuffed Out dropping on Brave Collective. And basically, the main thing I just wanted to point out is I said that, oh, you know, it's over a couple of orcas. I didn't actually scroll down enough. If I actually scrolled down, then you could see down here, there was a ton of mining barges out on grid. And they obviously, a lot of them were destroyed, as you could see. So it wasn't just the orcas, it was kind of a mass alliance fleet taking place there. And Snuffed Out brought some nightmares. Apparently they have brought out nightmares in the past, but as I pointed out last week, you know, in recent times it's mostly been Macarials. But so good to see once again battleships being swapped up a little bit there. Okay, so then I need to talk about Vinol. So with Vinol, if you remember, we've been talking about Boss, and Boss have basically been at conflict with NC Dot primarily. They kind of started the action against Boss, and then the rest of PanFam rolled in. And then once the non-interaction pact or non-invasion pact happened, ended between Fraternity or Winter Coalition and Boss, then they got involved as well. And they managed to remove kind of all the structures that belong to Boss. Now, Boss have now reacted with this by a strategy of divide and conquer. So if I can find the right battle report, this is the one here. you can see that on this particular battle report, there are actually 4 Astrahouses, yeah. But what actually happened was that Boss actually dropped 8 Astrahouses all around Venal at the same time, on the basis that this would require Winter Coalition and PanFam to actually split their forces out. And now on this particular one, it looks like it was only Winter Co that was on this, that came for these. But anyway, so the anchoring happened, and one of the Astrahouses was actually destroyed due to Boss's own mistake, that they got the timing slightly wrong on one of the Astrahouses. It anchored like half an hour earlier than the others. I think it was half an hour earlier, an hour and a half, one of the two, no, it's half an hour earlier. Either way, that was destroyed because of that, because Boss weren't ready. Then all the fights kind of pretty much happened on the remaining Astrahouse, where basically Winter Co focused on one of them. So the initial response from this was, I think, Moonins, yeah, so Moonins from Winter Coalition, and even though we see Serbs here, initially what we saw was Feroxes show up from Boss, and Greater Trash Community showed up as well to assist, and along with Rote Capel, as you can see here. So we've got Rote Capel and Boss, and then Greater Trash Community being We Form Blob, We Form Volta, Scum Lords, Quote Alliance, We Form Blob University. Unfortunately, even though they had a Minakawa to provide reps, the Munins obviously had really good alpha, and they were just basically just shooting straight through these Feroxes before the Minakawa could even apply reps. So the Feroxes just left the Minakawa behind, and Spongy managed to survive whilst being attacked by about 100 Munins, thereabouts, until they came back in Serbs. And they put up a fight with the Serbs, but unfortunately they weren't able to save this one particular Astrahous. But they got some good fights out of it, and they managed to clear the bubbles off the Minakawa, and the Minakawa lived for another day, which is pretty impressive considering it was all on its own, like I said, with 100 Munins at one point. But the end result is that out of the 8 Astrahouses that were dropped, 6 were actually anchored. So future fights then came up over this, and this will be continue to be a content generator for quite a while. Talking of future content generators, we come on to another battle report. So this is one of these Astrahouses that was dropped, and Winter Coalition showed up with NC Dot, as you can see here, and what was interesting with this wasn't that we had the Astrahous be destroyed, was actually the doctrine that was brought by Winter Coalition. So you can see that they brought a whole bunch of golems, 4 golems, with some Minakawas, and then rattlesnakes. So as I've been talking about the last few weeks, we're seeing a lot more battleship doctrines getting used, but I think this is the first time I've seen a rattlesnake doctrine in a very, very long while. So there you go, rattlesnakes with golems with Minakawa support. So Kaldari rule there, with vultures as well for links. So Kaldari pretty much all the way there, apart from a few claymores, and then a bunch of Serbs later on as well. But the main thing, rattlesnakes. So there you go. So it's great to see lots of different kind of battleship doctrines kind of being tried out at the moment, trying to work out what the new meta is going to be for battleships. All right, I think I've covered everything for Venal for now. All right, so the big news in terms of the North is that Winter Coalition, who are in branch Tinol, Tribute, and Veil of the Silent, have reset all of PanFam. So before, Winter Coalition Winter Coalition and Pandemic Horde were reset, but now the rest of PanFam is folding in. So I think already NC Dot, PL, etc. have already joined. I think Slicer also, by the time this report comes out, I think they all have also reset as well. And obviously PanFam are kind of in this area here. They're in part of cut off half of Cash, cut off half of Germinate as well. And then we could probably add a little bit there for Fraternity. There we go. So there's kind of like a little meeting point in the middle here. But the main thing is that this is a standing reset of standings, so that basically they can shoot each other. So they can shoot each other's whalers, ratters, etc. But as far as I understand, this doesn't include SOV. So I think SOV is going to be left alone. I would assume structures. We're going to have to see. We'll have to see if any structures are here. But I think for the time being, it's just more a case of just giving pilots the opportunity to go out on roaming fleets and not have to go halfway across the map they can now just jump through a few ansiblexes and either be in Fraternity space or Winterco space or in PanFam space and get themselves some extra content. Obviously on the far side here, we've obviously got Greater Trash Community and Brave as well. So all in all, we're getting like a good mix of potential content happening over here. And obviously Boss stuck right there in the middle with their presence in Venal still. So interesting times. And obviously we mustn't forget Cloud Ring is also quite easy for Initiative to get through, so they can get into this area as well. So we're starting to see kind of a lot more kind of content that is being generated that isn't about a war, but is actually just purely finding good fights. So I think everybody needs to find more things to shoot at, and especially as we come on to the next story, which is a story about an AWOX. So what we saw here, oh, wrong one, there we go, let me kill that, there we go, was Fraternity or Winterco undocked a whole bunch of Titans and then shot 2 of them. So as you can see here, there was an Avatar and a Ragnarok, and they were destroyed by Winterco. Now I say it's an AWOX because both of these pilots were part of Fraternity. Now it is my understanding that what actually happened was that these pilots were discovered to be RMT, so in other words basically using real money to buy stuff in-game outside of the usual CCP channels, which is completely banned and completely frowned upon. And so what they did is they managed to bait these pilots into undocking their Titans and then essentially drop their corporation standings and then shot them. And just to confirm this is if we actually look at this avatar here, the Avant-Garde Jinn, which is one of the avatars that was destroyed, if we actually look, the character was literally less than a month old. So one does not get into a Titan unless you use huge amounts of skill injectors, which is what they gave the indication that it was an RMT. So there you go. So unfortunately, these things still happen in game, but it's good to see that alliances are kind of dealing with it themselves. All right, so then I talked about Germinate being kind of a cross-section between PanFam and Winterco. So as you can see, Winterco over here on the west side, and then PanFam are kind of on the east or right side. But the main story is actually in this constellation down here. So initially in this constellation I surrounded in yellow, which let me just clear that and do that again. What we actually had was we had Arcos Core, and Arcos Core held, I think, these 3 systems. And for a while, literally triggered, we're fighting Arcos Core and I think Psychotic Tendencies as well, which is the tissue system right here. And then eventually some bat phones were called, and it looks like now that Fraternity have decided that rather than just having a couple of, in fact, they originally only had 1 system. They only originally had EOA-ZC. Then they took these 2 systems, which are empty. Then they took this Arcos Core one, and now I think they've taken the bottom 3. I think that's the right order. But either way, all that remains of this constellation now that is not Fraternity is Tissue or Psychotic Tendencies. So potentially we're going to see that go from there, and potentially that be attacked as well. I can see that these have been highlighted. I think there's the TCUs. Oh no, the iHubs have been refed. So there may be, even though I don't think there's any Arcos Core structures left, Arcos Core may still be there because obviously it's right next door to Accio, so they can actually hide out in low sec and still come back and ref the iHubs in there and create some content with Fraternity. So it'll be interesting to see whether Arcos Core return to their roots, which is kind of up in Vinol, or whether they stay down here and continue to harass Fraternity as Fraternity try and get the stranglehold on that constellation. All right, so what do we got then? Then we're just going to drop into low sec quickly, and we're going to talk about Placid. The actual system isn't that important. It was a system of Ansu, but what was important was that another AT ship was destroyed. This time it was a Laylapse. And the main thing about this destruction here, also we could see that it was actually fit as a heavy interdictor rather than as an Orthrus, obviously the Laylapse being a mix between the Onyx and the Orthrus. So this was fitted more like an Onyx. If we actually scroll down, you could see that Fredrick Vonhole got himself on another AT ship kill now. So Fredrick Vonhole does it again with the help of We Form Volta by the looks of it, amongst a few other people. So you guys, another AT ship down. So we're seeing a lot of these get destroyed, and we're going to see later on another one gets destroyed through very unusual circumstances. But before we do that, let's do our giveaway. So as always, it's time for the giveaway. The way that you enter the giveaway is that you put a comment down below in the YouTube comments with a keyword of my choosing, and then I do a draw on the Saturday. So the cutoff date is Friday the 1st of April 2022 1800 UTC. So you've got to make up a sentence with the keyword of my choosing. The keyword is going to be fun, F-U-N. Simply because of Brave's achievement of what's your fun per hour. I think we should definitely use the word fun as a keyword this week. So make up a sentence with the word fun. I will then do the draw most likely on the Saturday. So then check your YouTube comments to see if you have won, and I've replied to you telling you you've won. All right, so good luck with that, and back with the show. So we're going to go back to Curse. All right, so we're going to go up to Curse, and down in the south now. A whole bunch of fights, or some fights took place in the system of Litom. So one of those unusual NPC systems has actually got a name rather than a bunch of letters and numbers. So in Litom, there is a Triumvirate Astrahus. And this Triumvirate Astrahus refuses to die. So this was the 4th time that it had been put into a hull timer. And the battle report from this is here. Now it's actually in 4 chunks here. And the reason why it's in 4 chunks is because the main groups that were involved were Team B and Team C. So Team B being Rekking Crew, and then Team B being Rekking Crew, and Team C being Fire Coalition. And the other groups arrived later on. So the main things to point out with this is that it escalated into a cap brawl, or a dread brawl to be exact. So it started with subcaps with fact support. Then Rekking Crew dropped dreads, then Fire dropped dreads as well, which was pretty bold because the Astrahus was actually anti-cap fitted, which obviously meant that not only the Revelations were able to shoot at the Revelations of Fire, but also the Astrahus could do that as well. Then Rekking Crew added more dreads, and then Fire Coalition chose not to escalate, and so they ended up taking the brunt of the damage on the battle report here. Now, a couple of things that are interesting. First thing, there is a Zenitra on grid. I talked about last week about these being station candy for nullseekers, and we only mostly see the wormhole guys bring out the Zenitras for a fight. The Zenitra is on there, but actually the pilot showed up at the end just to kind of whore on the kills and wasn't there from the beginning. Otherwise, they probably would have been pram-root. Although I have to give creds to the pilot's name of Nanofit Logovsky. So that is a great name for a pilot. I do like that. All right, what else do we have? Okay, so I talked about very quickly as well. So Goon Swarm arrived late, and so did Pandemic Horde. Pandemic Horde basically ended up shooting most of the jackdaws that belong to Goon Swarm. Goon Swarm will tell you themselves they are not always the best at bubbling, and they actually managed to bubble their own fleet. And the Nightmares of Pandemic Horde took advantage of that. Once again, seeing Pandemic Horde in Nightmares. So, you know, I don't think I've seen that before. I mean, we talked about Pandemic Horde being in Paladins. So this group is kind of the more high SP group who are deployed down in this area. And they're clearly bringing out all the bling at the moment for their fleets. So I think that's about everything I've got to add for that. Oh, I've got a couple of videos. So there's a video from the Fire Coalition's perspective. This one is from Bad Juice. So as always with Bad Juice videos, for the first 20 seconds, it was always something completely random that makes no sense. But you can see it from not only Fire Coalition's perspective with Bad Juice's video. Obviously, these are all linked in the description below. But also, we have it from the point of view of Hero Coalition. And this is another video from James Kraken. James Kraken's got a super duper setup. So he shoots his videos in 4K at 50 frames per second. So you can get to see it in glorious detail. And you can get to see it from both perspectives. So there you go. But from what I understand, from both sides of this engagement, they all had lots and lots of fun with this fight. And we'll have to see if this Astrahus lives to for another day, or whether it will actually go into hull timer and actually be destroyed on its hull timer, should I say. All right, then going over to the region of Tenerifis, we have the other AT ship that was destroyed. Now, this AT ship was being flown solo with an alt, and unfortunately he was fighting a Vedmak, and from a lapse of concentration, this Raiju, if I just click on it, ended up getting destroyed by the drifter rats, as you can see here. And he was pretty much insta-blapped. So I have a video here. It is unlisted, but you've got a link in the description. So at 14 seconds in, you see at the moment he's on his, I think on his pilot right here, and he's busy just kind of about to shoot the Vedmak, and then he just gets this plong, plong at 14 seconds in, and then realizes that he's been destroyed by the rats, and that's it. So there you go. How to lose a Raiju to rats in literally just a few seconds. Those drifter rats are bad news, and if you're in a frigate, you can get basically insta-blapped. So credits to the pilot for posting this video, by the way, and it just shows that mistakes are so easily made, and just a lapse in concentration for just a second or two can lose you a few hundred billion. In the case, let me see if I can find the Raiju link again, 188 billion on the kill mount. So there you go. What else we got? Okay, so in Immensia, we're still seeing a little bit of fighting from Triumvirate and CVA, still attacking some structures kind of in this constellation here. It was in the system of Z8. I'm sure I can't even remember where Z8 is. Let me just look it up quickly. Z8 in Immensia. I think it's in that constellation. I may be completely wrong. Oh, it's actually a little bit further down. So anyway, there was an Athanor there. They managed to put it into hull timer. What was interesting about this, though, was the on the battle report, as you can see, the Athanor was destroyed. But it was who showed up. So Triumvirate and CVA actually got help from Volta, from Greater Trash, oh, actually not just Volta, Greater Trash Community, because we got Quote Alliance and Scumlords there as well, who showed up in legions. So once again, a very different fleet from Greater Trash Community, who helped basically CVA and Tri. Oh, sorry, Tri and CVA, should I say. It's Tri generally the bigger numbers, but those CVA showed up good numbers there as well. So it was almost an even fight, in terms of numbers. But yeah, so whilst Fire Coalition lost the Athanor, it was a fairly good fight. It was fairly balanced. Obviously, 4 billion of that was for the Athanor, so we're looking 10-6. But either way, the main story here is that we from Volta came south looking for content as well. Although with all the resets, they may actually be staying further north now, as there'll be more things for them to shoot at, as they can probably third party on PanFam and Winter Coast shooting at each other now, having been neutral to both all the time. All right, so then we come on to Featherboles. Now Featherboles, with Featherboles, originally I was talking about the system of TR07-S, I think it was last week, and I was saying how all of the fighting was taking place there as the Imperium were trying to establish a beachhead into Feythabolis. And there was this Astrahus that belonged to Panamic Horde that refused to die. Then there was a Fortizar from Panamic Horde there as well. What has actually happened was that there was an iHub fight that lasted for about 4 hours. And I can't fix the right one. Here we go. And as you can see, it covered a lot of different systems. It was very, very long. It was pretty painful on the Imperium, but they achieved the objective and they managed to actually flip this iHub. And they brought in everything. As you can see, they gated in through the regional gate, a whole bunch of carriers to help support it. And everyone showed up for this. Once again, I think everyone was very happy with the fight. It was just very, very long. But the end result, though, was that the initiative managed to claim the iHub. Now, as a consequence of this, the initiative have then anchored a Fortizar in the system on the X7 gate, right next door to the Pandemic Horde Fortizar and the Pandemic Horde Astrahus. Now, both of those have been put into hull, and I think the timer is coming out by the time this show's coming out, possibly. I think it's either Tuesday evening or the Wednesday evening. That's Tuesday the 29th or Wednesday the 30th. Also, as you can see from this map, Moonfire have been pretty much completely removed from Feythabolis. So they owned all the iHubs in the system. All the iHubs have been cleared. I actually flew through the system a little bit earlier, through the region a little bit earlier. And from what I could see, all of the Athanors and all of the structures that belong to Moonfire have also all been put into hull. So by Wednesday, basically Moonfire will have been completely eradicated from Featherbolis if the Imperium succeed in killing off all these hull timers, which it does appear to be the case. Fire Coalition aren't putting up too much resistance with this, and this is going to be a problem for the smaller groups that are here. So RLH, as you can see, are also getting their iHubs reinforced now as well. And some TCUs from URL, Unreal Alliance, have been reinforced as well. But the main focus here is RLH. Now, the main thing that with this is that these groups, when it comes to SOV warfare, the pilots of the Alliance that is having their SOV hit are the people that have to bring out the toasters, the Entosis ships, in order to be able to do the Entosis warfare. So whilst the coalition, Fire Coalition, can provide support, the Alliance actually needs to do the Entosis itself. If it's not a big alliance and it can't generate the numbers, then it falls. And this, I think this is the main problem that Moonfire had, was they simply didn't have enough pilots to be able to do the Entosis at the level that was needed to be able to ward off the Imperium. So the Imperium are kind of grinding their way into Featherbolis now, and I would imagine that potentially, after, if they do manage to succeed in pushing out RLH, then potentially Costco will be next, along with some of these couple of other smaller groups that are here, like STA, etc. So interesting times there, and this is a deployment from Goonswarm, and we'll see if it escalates further than that. But obviously the main groups at the moment that are being involved in this are Fire Coalition, with the support of Test Alliance Please Ignore, and a deployment from Pandemic Horde. Also, there was another fight over the JTAC TPT8 anti-flex jump bridge, which jumps over to U-B XU9, where there is a staging system for XIX. And I think that's where Pandemic Horde have potentially moved back to. I think Test is still there as well. All right, so I'm going to talk about Esoteria. So Esoteria is the home of Red Menace Coalition. So it is groups like, obviously, Red Alliance, What Could Possibly Go Wrong, Sorry in Advance, who else? We've got Spaceship Family and Reloaded. And the reason why I want to bring this up is Reloaded have done a bit of propaganda. They used a music video that's right here. It's not actually on YouTube. It's a little bit too risque for YouTube, I think. But I have linked it in the description below. It is worth a watch. Basically, the Reloaded pilot, a Skymaker Jedi, basically puts loads of text over this video to represent various elements of the events that are going on in Esoteria and the surrounding areas. So there you go. So do check this out. It is really funny, and it's very, very good timing by Skymaker Jedi there. So go check that out. The link is in the description below. All right, so now we're going to be talking a lot about Rekking Crew. So Rekking Crew, as I've mentioned in the last few weeks, have kind of been creating havoc in Derelict. So Derelict is right next to Catch and Providence, which are kind of the home of Rekking Crew. And one particular alliance, Purposeful Helmeted Warriors, whose roots started off in killing supers and titans, have kind of been very, very busy in Derelict. And if you remember in the last month, I think they've killed 1 titan and 2 supers, caught 4 jump freighters, baited on a Freeport Fortizar, and have basically been doing loads and loads of activity. And this has been ongoing. And this particular week, I have a screenshot to show you. And this screenshot was sent to me by Rekking Crew. And what we have here is we have a test Ragnarok. But the thing that with this particular Ragnarok is, if you will see, is the Ragnarok is actually empty and the pilot is actually ejected into a capsule. So the pilot got caught by Rekking Crew, and rather than die at the hands of Rekking Crew, the pilot ejected, and Rekking Crew got themselves a free Ragnarok. So some proper piracy going on there. Yeah, so there you go. And that wasn't the only Titan to die. There was another Titan that was caught by Rekking Crew, mostly by Purple Helmeted Warriors, but also other Rekking Crew pilots. This one died in the system of Eshwil. It was traveling, it was being tracked by the Rekking Crew. And one of the things that they found, which was an unfortunate situation, was the pilot was actually jumping by putting down poses and then lighting a cyno next to the pos and then slow boating to the pos. And it is my understanding that the pilot was cynoing 40 kilometers away from the the pos, and if you can see, there is no prop mod. So the pilot was slow boating the Titan from the Sino to the pos without a prop mod, and obviously eventually got caught, having been spotted and well scouted by Herpeton Warriors and the rest of Rekking Crew. So there you go. So Rekking Crew are continue to be extremely busy in Derelict. So I've put out a warning, I think 2 weeks in a row now. So this is the third week in a row. Be very, very careful going through Derelict. These guys know what they're doing. They've been doing this a long time, and they will get you if you slip up. And in fact, there was actually, talking of slip-ups, there was a super that died through slip-ups, and we'll talk about that later on. Also, Rekking Crew, just to finish off on their little run here, they also managed to bait a Pandemic Horde Black Ops group, and on the kill mail was pretty hefty at 25 billion, obviously, with a martial kill for 10 billion there. Now, I heard a couple of different stories that, because this actually happened over 2 different systems, so the martial and one of the Falcons died in, I think it was Yuanzin, and then the remaining Black Ops group died 20 minutes earlier in Faspera. Now, I heard one side of the story was that the Marshal and the Falcon jumped through the gate and got caught on the other side, and the other one was that it was actually a completely separate blops that was happening, but unfortunately the pilots had very similar names, so they knew exactly who it was and baited them out, and hence destroyed these Black Ops groups. So there you go. So then we're going to talk about some other stuff. So we're going to talk about our whaling kills. So 17 Rorquals this week have died. So that is up on last week when I think we were in single digits. There was one particular day when it was a pretty good day for Rorqual kills. As you can see, this was March the 26th. Apparently everyone was decided to go out whaling on Rorquals, and you can see there's all kinds here. I mean, Dead Game Society, State War, We Form Blob, Ready Replace, Initiative, Fraternity Test, Nvidia Gloria comes, so a whole bunch of different alliances getting targeted there. So as I said, 17 Rorqual kills. Now the supers was a little bit different. So we had 6 supers get destroyed, and from what I could see, only 2 were kind of whaling supers. So we had the one in Fountain belonged to Bastion and one belonged to Pandemic Horde. Then we had this Aeon here, who was destroyed in Iridia by No Forks Given, amongst others. And the pilot actually posted a whole bit of text on it. The pilot's been a vet since 2003 and openly acknowledged, owned it, and said, yeah, I got complacent. I should have taken better care. I got sloppy, and as a consequence of that, I got caught. So creds to that pilot for stating that. And it shows that, even if you're a vet, it doesn't give you a free pass. You still have to tick all your boxes to make sure that you can travel with your super safely. Right, then what we have is the 3 remaining Nixes, 1 Hell and 2 Nixes, so the 3 remaining super carriers to be destroyed. And these just have me puzzled. So one was caught by Purple Helmeted Warriors in catch, and this one was traveling. And the interesting thing is it was in this system of X3FQ-W. So if we go to catch, that is like proper Rekking Crew territory. And I assume that it was making its way towards Fountain. Now, the pilot belonged to Industrial Mining and Mayhem, which was initially Brave. And Industrial Mining and Mayhem left Brave Collective to join the Initiative and Fountain. So I'm assuming that this pilot rejoined later on, and that the Hell was somewhere far, far away, decided to try and bring it down. Unfortunately, the fit was really unusual for a travel fit because, we've got a couple of inertial stabs, but we've got an afterburner. We haven't got a battleship micro warp drive there. And so it's not kind of in a travel fit, but it's a proper suitcase. And as you can see, I've already kind of got a bit highlighted here. Whoops, I didn't need to click on that. I've got to go back up now. There we go. So clearly the thing that affected the pilot here was the spice wine and the exotic dancers. Obviously had the pilot distracted and sent him through Rekking Crew space with all of his goodies and his packed fleet hangar with or her with all of her stuff. And in fact, I could see that the party was meant to go on. As I think further down this list, if I can find it, we also had 15 exotic male dancers, and then we had some female corpses, which is a bit disturbing. And I think we had some male corpses down below as well. So yeah, so clearly a big party going on while this hell was traveling, and got caught unawares due to all the spiced wine that was being consumed. All right, so that was the first one. Then we had this Nyx here that was a Hunter Nyx. So this one wasn't an unusual fit, but was caught by White Sky, who are extremely good at catching supers, just like a few. Got a lot of experience in this. So this was a hunting super, as you can see from the hyperspatials and all the inertial stabs and the double SIBOs. And looks like the test pilot there got baited by White Sky and then dunked. Obviously, you are dunked, being one of the corporations of White Sky. Right, then the last one I don't have an explanation for. This one has me completely puzzled. It is basically a half-fit Nyx that was caught by Arrival. And the only thing I can assume with this was that this Nyx was bought in low-sec, in a low-sec structure or something. It was in asset safety, got bought, and it had capital repair drone augmenters and capital drone durability enhancers on it. So an old ratting fit, I assume, and the pilot decided to try and jump it without refitting it, and it died. So there you go. So a very unusual fit for that one. Then we're going to close off with I talked about last week the online, the Frigate Freefall, and how I didn't have a video. Well, a YouTuber called Dad Dex has done, I think, a 15-minute video. Yeah, 16-minute video on the Frigate Freefall. It covers loads of different stuff. It's got loads of commentary on it. I just spotted Trottle Elf in local there, just talking away, trolling in local as always. So if you want to see a good little bit of backstory there on the Frigate Freefall that happened, not this weekend just gone, but the weekend before, then check it out. I also saw in the comments that a lot of you missed it, wished you hadn't missed it. So do keep checking the show, and obviously next year I will give you plenty of notice like I did this year and try and make it. I also didn't make it due to family commitments, but I will do my very, very best to be there for the 9th Frigate Freefall, as I'm sure Rix Javix will organise it next year as well. So thank you to Rix and to Stay Frosty and what's the other group? I've forgotten now. Bear with me, sorry. I'll put it in the comments here. A Band Apart, thank you. There we go. Thank you to those groups and Rix for arranging the Frigate Freefall. And we look forward to the next one. So there you go. All right, so that's pretty much it from me. So as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully I'll see you on my Twitch show on Friday at 2000 UTC. It's a lot more laid back. I enjoy chatting with everybody and catching up with you on the news. And if not, I will see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.